was, I didn't realise either until I met all these families. For 40 families and only 4 of us have had a conviction, only 4. And they're fighting the police to see the connection between suicide and the coercive control. We tell them it's all of us help each other, for each other on the anniversaries and the birthdays. So some of us mums, we have the children. So on the days they start school, we're crying our eyes out because our child's not there to see their child. And we've all become friends. Some amazing people, amazing mums, and obviously I met Sinead as well through my campaign. And we just all help.
So supportive.
We have a bloody good rant.
What keeps going, community. I want to go back to Sharon, what you said about when Pam came to you and said,
I found her.
And this is what you need to do. And I think it's in these situations with those 40 families as well. You are now faced with bereavement and a suicide bereavement, and in our modern age now of talking about bereavement by suicide and being a lot more vocal and advocacy and around that, but in terms of the many families that are first particularly suicide bereavement as well, the layers of the complexities of it too, but then additionally you finding Pam and finding those resources. Right, I am dealing and grappling with the grief of this loss, but I've got a task at hand here, and I think what I'm really interested to sort of you, Sharon, and to talk about as well of, I think for any of us with any sort of campaigning work that we're doing in memory of our loved ones, as you say, that when with his family and kind of putting that fire in your belly, though that is that rocket fuel of that, the tiresomeness of it, of that you were still a bereaved mother at the end of the day, and the crux of it all, and the pros and the cons, and in lack of better terms there, but in terms of doing both and rallying for change, not only for Chloe but for other families too.
And in between, I'm bringing up my grandson,
being an additional parent,
being a mum to my other children, and also I think it's about a year on when you lose a loved one to connected to domestic abuse related suicide, they do a domestic homicide review. I think it's a year after, so you've got all that to deal with, which is bad enough, and then you, all the agencies involved with Chloe over that relationship, I think she was with him less than a year, then you find out all the failings of what agencies didn't help. And me and my son read that DHR, and it absolutely destroyed me. And it took me quite a few weeks to get back up. It was horrific, honestly. And I went to an award thing in London, the Emma Humphreys Awards, surrounded by feminists. And I just got a picture with a poem on that Emma Humphreys had written. And I come out of their glancing, it's like they fully charged me back up, and then I bounced back again. And then we've had our pre-inquest review cancelled 4 times now. And now police possibly doing that. We're looking at another 2 to 3 years. So we've already been going 2.5 years. And the thing is, I watched a documentary you have called Two Sisters, where she lost her 2 daughters where they were murdered, and she's a phenomenal mum, her. And she said you just can't grieve till it's over, and I thought that made sense. No, it didn't make sense because you can't. You've got to keep going and going and going. The campaign has kept me really busy and stopped me falling apart. Where other families aren't campaigning, they're still going through this process of the HRs and everything else. They're falling to pieces. Well, I haven't fallen to pieces just yet.
And just while on top of that, Sharon, come back to, particularly want to come back to the 2-hour interview that Chloe had, not for perhaps reasons we may think, but in terms of to look at, I think, the bigger picture of the violence against women and girls, and men, of course, particularly women and girls in the UK, absolutely. And in terms of how, I'll come back to that in a second, but I just want, while we're here, in terms of talking about, as you're saying there, how you're campaigning and fighting a good fight and doing this, as you're saying, we spoke primarily as well of that's that knowing, that feeling of whenever you do decide to pull back and go, okay, we've done our part, we need to rest. How do you think you're going to support yourself? What do you think that's going to look like for you? Do you think it's maybe a continuation of into campaigns?
I'm probably never going to be
I was
able
gonna
to
say,
stop.
I was
So
gonna
then
say.
all these organisations aren't going to let me.
Yeah.
I've said once the family's campaign's finished and we had a final inquest, I'm done. And I've said that because I could carry on for years. I've got a list of things I'd like to change. But for my grandson, I have to stop. And for my family, because when you're focusing on your child you've lost, you're not giving 100% to the ones that are still here. So you've got to have that happy medium, and it is hard. And I'm giving my grandson 100%, but I don't feel really 100%.
And finding the balance of it, and as you mentioned, it's still so fresh. And in terms of still finding that balance, and I think for many of us in our bereavement, sort of that balance is always a never-ending project in a way of sometimes whether we are doing campaigning or advocacy or even just tending to our grief and supporting ourselves. We all have our seasons, etc. That feel like, actually, I'm doing to step back and I need to focus on my family.
Well, I was just focusing on my campaign, and all these families found me, and none of them had a voice, the ones who hadn't had a conviction. And I thought, I couldn't believe how many hadn't got a conviction. I was so shocked. And then I thought, no, I can't leave them behind. I could have done. I could have just been selfish and focused on us. But I just couldn't.
That's your humanity in you, isn't it?
I just couldn't do it. And I don't want I'm not a leader of them. Everybody, we're all in on it.
Understanding in terms of what you have done in paving the way. I think anyone who maybe essentially fall into quote a leader or a voice for people, we don't want to be there. We don't want to be a leader for it. But in terms of, I think it's that balance of, I perhaps didn't ask her, want any of this, but I found myself here, and I have made headway not only for my family and seeking justice there, and if I can, with my own capacity, if I can help others, then I should, and if I can do that, then I will.
But what I like is that nice feeling I had when I met Pam and felt so much better. I like when the family sound agree. Thanks ever so much, Sharon, for putting us on there. You don't realise what you've done for us. You've given us advice. I always forward them on to AFTA as well, because a lot of them have not even heard about AFTA either. Because if the police don't set up DHRs, then they don't know about AFTA. So then they end up with an advocate like I've got. And then they're all of a sudden they're bouncing happy because they've got help. They didn't realise they could do all this.
Options, and
you do have to they've got that fight in them now.
Choice and that options, and that they don't have to just listen to what is being presented on the table, and to speak with people who have had actual lived experience. So actually, this is what you can advocate for and push for yourself and for justice. But just wanting to go back to just particularly on the other 2-hour interview that Chloe had, and I think, as you're saying, when you've been into Parliament and met many MPs, etc. And going into fighting for the justice for Chloe at the time for you and the wider families, but in terms of as you began to uncover, and I say finding and watching that 2-hour interview and actually seeing that she tried to seek for help, she tried to seek for it, and actually went, I need help, I need to cut out of this.
She ran them every time. She ran them every time.
And it's those things, and not only just subjected to Chloe's story, but I'm sure to many of the families, many across the country, across the globe, and that it's the wider, more sinister picture of that women and girls are not taken seriously, and the priority within, whether it is political, societally, in terms of the harm and violence against women, is not something that does sit at a priority within our governments. And when you pan out and you see that and you see that much bigger beast, thinking, wow, this is more than just legislation. This is cultural. This is a cultural change.
And because Chloe had witnessed me go through domestic abuse as well, her trauma comes out as ADHD, which I didn't know. So she got in with a bad lot of kids, and she was probably a pain in the ass with the police, you know what I mean? And so she was judged. The thing is, a lot don't see where that ADHD, that trauma, because a lot of kids, they get into drugs, they get into drink, to take their mind off of everything. She wasn't your perfect victim.
Exactly.
I personally feel, and I'll be honest, I think I looked at her and thought, we're not going to bother because she's done this, she's done that.
She's got a record here.
And
that reality though for Sharon as well, because for you obviously it's not me saying in terms of you looking at Chloe and seeing her through a lens of she's an angel as well. No, exactly, but in terms of seeing it in terms of but being able to kind of actually again that wider picture of thinking, this is my child still, but she's been perceived as not the perfect victim yet. And again, it's that bigger, wider picture. There's so much more here than just perhaps legislation or the systems that are meant to support us. Just a misfortune of that she's fell through the cracks in terms of actually there's a lot more conscious bias towards certain backgrounds and working class backgrounds. Personally, I've cast her off. And the more sinister part of it, and realising this is a mountain to climb here that isn't just changing legislation and changing law. This is a cultural shift of how we treat women and girls and anyone who has been at the hands of abusive masculinity.
And what it was as well with the campaign, I met I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Southall Black Sisters. Pragma Patel, the founder of Southall Black Sisters, is now on my campaign for the families with Rosie Lewis, and their fight has been for black and minority women. We come together because I don't want it just to be about white women. I want it to be about all women, all of us, because obviously that's another side of things that's even tougher than what it was for Chloe. Do you know what I mean? But also, I've also had mums and sisters find me that have lost sons and brothers to this. We've got to always remember this does also happen to me.
And even that in itself, as we spoke on the phone, again, additional layers of the very sad and devastating societal views that some people have in that, men don't be abused. And all these things that carry, and even though them being
they're meant to be tough.
They're meant to protect themselves, and realising that whether that is even in societal circles, but actually that bleeds into the systems that are still meant to protect, and that even that actually women, girls, men are not protected when it comes to domestic and coercive relationships. And it's perhaps too late, or that the victim has gone through an extensive amount of abuse before they are taken seriously.
And the psychological abuse by the perpetrator is, I've been there. I know what it's like. And I also lost my mum to domestic abuse related. It wasn't until I was sat in the hospital next to Chloe's bedside that I thought, oh my God, this is having work. So, and then, what I said to you on the phone about the huge point I want to make is I witnessed it as a child. I got in bad relationships. My daughter Chloe witnessed it as a child. She got in bad relationships, and I broke the cycle by not getting in any more relationships. My two youngest daughters have never seen anything like that. But now I have a grandson. She's pregnant, has heard all that, and is now suffering trauma as well. It's not as easy as, why doesn't she leave? Well, why doesn't he stop doing what he's doing and leave her alone?
And that's what it is, isn't it? Exactly. There's so many abundance of questions that are targeted at the victim, whether it's always, why didn't you leave, or then when you have the facts laying out of like, 2 hour interview, you call the police every single time, answer me that then. And actually, again, it's these things of, it's just the bigger picture of that society of how the domestic abuse and coercive relationships, the answers and the intensities face up all the wrong people. And completely, I want to and I really want to acknowledge that, Sharon, in terms of that you breaking the cycle and the parallels with both your relationship with your mum and you witnessed there, and for Chloe too, and comes to you and your grandson. I can imagine there being such I don't know, it's only small right now, but as he gets older, that real gravitas of break the cycle here. And
well, I done a course. I'm a foster carer to my grandson as well, and I done a course with Karen, and I went on there and I thought I wanted to learn how to tell him when he was old enough to understand. And I was on there thinking, well, I know how to explain it because I lost my mum. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm the best person to tell him how to describe, what's happened. And I have little memory boxes for him as well. And to all my interviews and everything, I put all in this box so you can see that I fought for his mum and didn't give him.
Gets older, that not only the respect and the love that is already there between you both, but of realising that you both have this connection of both, of course, losing Chloe together, but in terms of your own experience too.
I was a child once.
I'm sure he is abundantly loved by you.
Oh,
Abundantly loved. Thank you, Sharon. Before we open up for any questions or just overall sharing, I just asked Sharon if there's any kind of closing words you'd like to give to the audience, whether they perhaps themselves are experiencing something like this, or perhaps know anyone or in their own line of work.
I think for anyone, I don't know if you're a parent that may have a child that's going through it, be there. Don't lecture them, just be there, because that's what the perpetrator wants, is for you to walk away and leave them so they're on their own. For a victim, get as much help as you can, reach out to as many people as you can, and always let someone know what's going on, because a lot of families, their children didn't let people know, and then they've got to try and connect it up to their conviction. So document everything, even if you don't want the police to come out, just get it on the system. There's a paper trail of what's happening. Any professionals, I'd suggest everybody read Jane Monckton Smith's book about the 8 stages of coercive control, and then you might have some idea of what they go through. Because even if social services stand there and say you've got to leave or you're losing your kids, it's not that easy. It's not that easy, because it's dangerous when they leave, very dangerous. So those are the only things I can think of, really.
Thank you, Sharon.
And if somebody hurts your child, don't let them get away with it.
Have a good day, Sharon. Hell have no fury like a
Definitely
mother's
not.
love.
Yeah.
And not only your love for Chloe will bleed into making true change, and
If
as
I
you
could
said,
just save one person's life or help one family, I've already done it.
You've done enough. You've done enough. Sharon, thank you. Before we open up for questions, I'm going to close it here on the recording, so there's that privacy there. But just thank you so much, and thank you for sharing Chloe with us all. And you're amazing.
Thank
you.